Yeah.
So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Ray Freeman, who's director at NCIP. So, firstly, Ray, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, NCIP, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Um, you said NCIP, and that's how we go. That's the name we go by. But the full name is the National Council of Integrative Psychotherapists. It was originally NCP, and it has been the NCP since 1971, long before my time.
Yep.
I was asked to carry it on by my predecessor, who was quite a ill man. He lasted about another year. Um, Back in 2011, and it was a tiny organization. It happened to be my professional association. I'd been with a couple of the big guys, found them not to be to my liking, not to be suitable for me. Um, so I punted around and I found the NCP, and the guy that was running it was just magic. He just, you're the professional, get on with your job, stick to the rules, you won't hear from us. And that's really what I wanted in those days.
Yep.
Of course, the world has changed. We are about 10 times the size we were then.
Wow.
It was a little bit more than that, but we've shrunk in the last couple of years because of the political, it's not political, the financial climate.
Yep.
Um, and but we do okay. We're now a not-for-profit organization. Um, we have a sister organization called the International Council, um, and that's being rebranded and re-upgraded as I speak. We're doing, we've got some teams of people doing it. We're not one of the big boys. The original design of the NCP was for private practice, practitioners.
Yes.
And that's been always been our core. Yes, we have others, but the idea of adding the word integrative in, well, we did it in 22, was so that it's very much clearer on the bottle what we do.
Yep.
And also the fact that most of our members, an awful high percentage of our members, are multidisciplinary.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm also a hypnotherapist, but I don't do it anymore because I don't like doing it online,
Yep.
and then that's
Right.
all where I work now. And I'm a counselor. I'm counseling quals, and I'm also have what's called a level 7 in CBT, cognitive behavior therapy.
Yep.
Um, and level 7 is master's level,
Yes.
practitioner masters. And we encourage everybody to do more than one. That's the key.
Yes.
No, we don't. It's not a rule. It's just how this is. We encourage people to do it.
Yep.
We look after the public by looking after our members. That's the way we work.
Brilliant. And
Um, Go on. Sorry, you were going
no,
to.
so I was getting, and before we started, you mentioned also you've got your own, as well as doing all of that, you've got your own
Mm.
private practice doing
Yes.
some very interesting things too.
Yeah, well, in private practice, it's just Ray Freeman psychotherapy, and I've specialized. Well, I don't even like the word. My special interest is working with the victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse.
Oh wow.
So it can be, so it's very specialized in those two. I take
Yeah,
other ones
yeah.
as well, but very little because I limit the amount of practice I do because of
Yeah.
NCIP.
Yes.
And so I limit it. There's always a queue. Um,
Brilliant.
and it tends to be quite long term.
Yeah.
So I've got clients of 2 years and 3 years, so because people need help
Yeah.
that through that. So um, yeah, that's where my special interest lies. I've never liked bullies, even as a young person, which is a long time ago now. Um, I never liked a bully. And I find now these days about 50% of the work I do is with dysfunctional families,
Right.
not just intimate relationships.
Yeah.
Um, which is an interesting concept, thinking, because I don't know of a family that is functional, including my own.
No.
Um, so, so I mean, so that's where I am. That's what I do. Having said that, I dabble a little bit, dabble, that's not probably the right word, but I do a little bit of work with ADHD as well, which
Okay.
is not, it's a personality disorder. It's not curable, but I help people manage it.
Yeah.
Um, but my thing, my passion, um, is dealing with narcissists. That
Interesting.
narcissist, that central egocentricity where they don't have the development, the mental development to be empathic or empathetic or whatever word
Mm.
you want to use to. And it's all about, the world is all about them. And dealing with them, they should be in therapy. But
Yes.
some of my colleagues might disagree, but I don't think it's curable. Not severe when it's severe.
Yeah.
Um, if it is weaker, then it's probably not narcissism. So it potentially, um, but it's how. But what happens is they won't come to therapy
No.
because there's nothing wrong with them.
Yes.
It's everybody
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
So, and on one or two occasions, I've had narcissists try to bluff me.
Right.
It's a mistake.
Brilliant.
Um, so that's where I work. That's my passion.
So I just
I ought to say as well, Chris, that I'm not actually a northerner. I'm come from Hackney in East London. But
right.
I've lived now in North Yorkshire, and I've lived in Yorkshire for half my life.
Me too. I'm the same.
Yeah. So I'm originally a proper East Ender. Um, And I have still have family and connections down there. They all live on the coast now. They're retired, but they yeah. I was born in Hackney Hospital
Oh, brilliant.
a
Brilliant.
long time ago.
It, it, it's
Um,
it's funny.
so yeah, I think I'm ready for the next question.
Yeah, no, yeah, well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I've lived in Yorkshire more than half my life myself.
Mm,
Now, and I
yeah.
always say I realised when I don't think I'll ever be a true Yorkshireman, but I was pretty much under the influence when I started to buy my cars based on value for money. Because you should never buy a car based on it's, it's
Yeah,
like yeah.
that's a good point. Um, yeah, I can remember when I first moved up here. I went back to London to buy a car.
Right,
Um, Mostly, yeah, I don't know why I did it. Oh, I think a relative was buying one.
right.
And when he walked into the showroom to check it out, they were doing it all right. And he went, he's looking for a car. And of course they're all over me. So, and it's how happens I was. So I ended up buying down there. But
Brilliant.
no, yeah, I I don't I don't think I'll ever be accepted as a northerner, but I'm not sure that I want to. I like this. I like me as I am.
I I think it's a state of mind. I don't even think it's. I think
Yes,
it's
I think so.
whoever we want to be is fine.
Yeah.
Just going back to your point you made, because I'm interested in it might be interesting to people that might be watching. Is how how would you know you're a victim of a narcissist?
That's a really good question, Chris. Not everybody does because it gets normalized. I can
Yes,
remember a client years ago telling me a story about she was with this guy and it was raining and she had a white skirt on and white shoes and they were having an argument going out somewhere. She held an umbrella and he punched her in the face and she went down like you would. She was only a slip of a thing.
goodness.
Ruined her skirt, ruined her shoes, bruised her face. And I said, "Why didn't you leave him?" And she said, "I hadn't moved in with him yet." So like my mouth dropped up, like just like you're doing now.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, "Why on earth did you do that?" And she said, this is what I thought the world was like. I'd seen my father batter my mother very often,
Right.
and I just thought this is how life was.
Yeah.
So it was so normalized. Um, the strangest thing that when it gets normalized, you don't recognize it.
Yeah.
I do
Yes.
have on my website, I've got a questionnaire, and that is if you've answered two of these in a positive way, you're in it.
Right. Right.
Um,
Okay.
so do that. But to be honest with you, it's becoming it's becoming more known, more validated now.
Yeah.
People tend to use the word narcissism too loosely, like we use the word depression too loosely. If you've ever seen somebody clinically depressed, you know it's not the fed upness that we talk about.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just, that's how it is. It gets normalized and it's difficult to see
Yes.
until
Goodness.
you
Well,
highlight it, and
yes, absolutely. So we're going to make sure we get your details at the end. But
yeah.
if anybody happens to be watching and they're not sure, they can
Mm.
do a questionnaire on your website and
Yeah,
find
it's
out.
rayfreemanpsychotherapy.com.
Brilliant.
And it's there. Yes, it's on the website.
Wonderful. So looking back over your career from both NCIP and your personal practice, but what are
Mm.
some of the biggest issues and challenges you've had to overcome so far, Ray?
Well, in practice, because it was a very different world before 2004 when I started. I'm 22 years at this as well,
Right,
something.
same time.
Um, and it was a very different world. And I rented a room from somebody that was there was some sort of alternative therapist, and I can't think what it was now. Um, and I rented the room from them when they weren't there. They were
Right,
only part-time. And and then I realized within a couple of months that I was paying all the rent because what I was
right.
paying them was they were making a profit. Anyway, the lease came up and they decided they weren't going to take it. So I said, well, I'll have it. And that was really the start of the practice. When I started on my own, I think I had 500 quid's worth of A5 flyers put into the local free paper. And within 2 weeks, I had a business.
Wow.
You can't do that now. I supervise and mentor other therapists that are
Yeah,
starting now, or some of them are more experienced than me even. And what they tend these days, you've got to be on here.
yeah,
If you're not on here, you're dead in the water.
yeah. Agreed. Completely
Um,
agree.
and it's hard for us old uns. I find it difficult to keep up to date. That's why I have somebody that does all the work for me.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's a very different world. And then, of course, COVID changed everything. Um, and those of my colleagues that weren't online had to go online. I was already there because I saw it come. No, I didn't see didn't see COVID coming. What happened was one of my colleagues, who I thought the world of, and she trained with me, but she was like an exceptional therapist and quite local to me. And she one day she said to me, "You're the best local therapist I've ever seen." And that was like stabbing me in the heart.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I decided that was about 2019, and I decided to go online. So when COVID hit, I
Right.
only, I only had two face-to-face clients. The rest
Interesting.
were online. So when I gave up the office, um, it wasn't. I didn't get hurt by
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So you're ahead of the game in many ways.
Mm.
Amazing. Amazing.
And of course, NCIP, we were NCP then, but I started a newsletter. Second week into lockdown, I thought, this is just going to go bad if I don't do something.
Yes.
So, I, so, I, started a weekly newsletter for the members,
Right.
and I started a weekly newsletter for the members, and I started a weekly newsletter for the members, and I started a weekly newsletter for the members, and I started a weekly newsletter for the members, and we went up 20% in that year.
Brilliant.
And I don't know whether it was the newsletter or whether it was just something above. I have no clue how it happened. Um, but we made big strides during lockdown.
Brilliant. I, I I mean, I would say one of the fundamentals is action gets a result. You took action, you did something,
Yes.
it's got a result. It could have been more, could have been less. But one thing
Yeah.
you can guarantee, if you hadn't done it, the outcome would have been zero.
Mm.
And I think that's a really strong lesson is, that do something. Um, uh,
And also, what I was doing was feeding off of the zeitgeist of the organization. We've always been the friendly people. Um, and even now, when I want to take a little bit less time at it, um, I find I can't because I'm the hub. And while I
right.
have people, we have a registrar who's fantastic. She's brilliant. I have colleagues that are fantastic, but they all go want to talk to Ray, and it's very much more difficult to extract than it was to create.
Yes.
But I don't
Yes.
mind. I actually don't mind.
Well, with respect, I wouldn't be doing my coaching job, though you haven't asked me to coach you. The challenge is when people say they don't mind, it normally means they don't want to do it, but they're putting up with it. It it
Yes.
it, it,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, I have a good lifestyle.
yeah,
It's
yeah. No, all of that
it's
makes sense, but it is just getting to that point of
yeah.
we put up with stuff we don't have to. I think that's the key thing. Yeah, I do a lot of work with helping
We
people
do that
get to
with
that point.
everything, though, don't we?
So
We do
say again.
we do that with everything we do.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a common habit. I
Yeah.
think. I think, but it's worth calling it out for being an excuse for not changing, if that makes sense. It
Yes.
it it's it, it,
I would go along with that.
yeah. I'm absolutely respect. It's not. It's something I see a lot. I mean, I do a lot of work with people that still are the business, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And and I see lots of excuses. I'm not saying you're making these that, well, if it wasn't me, then the business wouldn't be there, and all these things. They're excuses. That doesn't mean it's an easy transition from a business that
No,
depends on us
that's the
to
point. To make it work, I had to be the centerpin
exactly right, 100%.
because I was the driver, and now I don't. I want to be the passenger.
Funny enough, this interesting you said that. I know someone said that a while ago. I don't want to be driven. I want to be the driver. Well, I want to be the driver, or at least the passenger.
Yeah.
I don't need to be. But he's. But yeah, but it is a mindset change, and I appreciate that's your expertise way more than it's mine. But when I work with people, it is we have to peel back the excuses of it's got to
Yeah.
be about me, and if I'm not here, the
Yeah.
business would fail, and all these things.
I've always been reluctant to be like this.
Yeah,
I took some persuading, by the people around me,
right.
because I don't particularly like that. The idea of therapy, and I'm sure coaching is very similar. The idea of therapy is you do change the world, but one person at a time.
Yes.
And I was always happy doing that. If I wanted to be, I'd have been an influencer before there was such a thing as an influencer. But I've never wanted that. I just wanted to help one person at a time.
Yeah.
Um, that hasn't changed. I don't think it has changed anyway. I still feel the same about practice as I always did.
So this isn't a question I've got on my script, but if I ask you this question, if you had to choose between your private practice and running the two organizations, which would you choose?
I would see which is the bigger income.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, that's a fair point. Okay, but if they're even,
If they were even, which would I choose? I would probably choose the NCIP
cool,
because it's got growth in it.
cool.
But private practice as big as these.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you are yeah, absolutely, you are the business, and I
Yeah.
think and it feels like in both cases that's the case at the moment. One, you can definitely
Yes.
take a step for the other one. You can't really when it's got your name above the door. It's
Yes,
definitely got to be you.
exactly. Yeah. My name on the door. Yeah.
Absolutely, you can't really say, "Well, I'm not." Yes, this is Ray. This is Ray Freeman counselling, but it's not me. No, that's easy. But it is. I mean, it'd be good to talk about this in a bit more detail at some point. But it is a mindset change from the challenge I found, and it'd be great to get your professional opinion. Is um,
Mm,
when I work with business owners, is we've been told from very young, correctly so, that the harder
mm,
we work, the more successful we'll be.
mm.
That's a truism, uh,
Yes,
up until a point when you own a business or you run a business, because there comes a point where it shouldn't be how hard we work. It
mm.
should be how well we lead a bunch of hard working people. Doesn't mean we work less hard, just so we're
It's
clear.
weird you use the word lead because I always think it's more serve than lead.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think managers manage and leaders serve.
I would agree, but they're still leaders in
Yeah,
the context
absolutely.
of
Yeah,
guiding an organization or a business
yeah,
to growth and the future.
yeah.
I completely agree. The most successful form of leadership is serving. I would agree
Mm,
completely.
yeah,
Um, but the leadership role is not no longer the doing of the
no.
work.
Mm,
It is whatever leading is for that particular person. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
and I think it's that transition because it's almost 180 degree change. If you
Yes.
imagine in that period when it was all about how hard you worked, it was like, well, the
Mm,
obvious thing to do, we've got to do this. What do I do? You know,
yeah.
requirement, what I do, and it is going completely different to what don't I do. That there was a lady I heard speak a couple of years ago, a lady called Sharon Byrne. Sharon, no, Jennifer Byrne. It doesn't matter, but
Mm,
Jennifer Byrne, who was the ex CTO, Chief Technical Officer at Microsoft a few
mm,
years back. She's no longer. She now helps other businesses grow, but um, she was in a group of business owners and leaders in Leeds.
mm.
One of the things she said that really stood out for me, and you could see everybody else sort of, it almost smacked quite a few people around the face, was she said the job, she said in the US, when nowadays, when they recruit C-suite executives, so the business leaders, the CEOs,
Mm,
CTOs, CFOs, they actively test them on their ability not to do things.
mm.
And you could see, you could see. I mean, myself, it hit me, but
Yes.
did she actually say not? And
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
and because most of the people in that room had got to a level of success by working really, really hard, and understandably so.
Yes.
Um, so no, it's a really interesting point, I think, Ray, in terms of when do you make that change and how
Mm.
do you do it?
Yeah, and I have no clue. I just it's like I've said, life is okay. Balance is
Yeah,
probably not quite right, but it's not far off. It's not.
it, and we only change. And interesting enough, again, we talk about change a lot in what we do, and I'm sure, I'm not sure, but I would imagine you have similar things. But and change can only happen if we have an element of both dissatisfaction and vision.
Yeah, the vision comes from overload.
Yeah, is that the vision or the dissatisfaction?
Just as you grow a business, what
Yeah,
happens is you find the need for somebody that you can't afford.
yes,
So there's almost an impasse. You have to grow a little bit more, have a little bit more involvement to pass that point at which you can go, right, I can offload that.
yes,
And that is something the registrar, like I say, has been with me. Oh, she's been with me 11 years now. And we often have that discussion.
yeah,
And I can, it's almost a shorthand. Where I say to her, we're up to the point at which, and she goes, well, who do we, what do we need? And I go, this, but we don't have the money, we don't have the income for it
yeah,
yet. Um, because I run a very tight ship.
yeah,
I've always done the same thing. I don't run on overdraft, I run on our money, and I don't, I don't gamble the future.
yeah.
I've always been that way. That's maybe why it's taken a bit longer than it should have done to grow to the size we are.
It often
But
does.
we are really solid. When
100%.
I
The,
look at accounts of other organizations, even we accredit training courses. So we look at the trainer.
Yes, got you.
So, the public records, so they'll be on Company's House, and you look at them robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you think, I don't want to run a business that way.
It's quite interesting. I was told many years ago, if you were very we know everything's a spectrum, so this is very blunt instrument, but if you
Mm,
consider somebody either risk averse or risk happy, whatever the right word
mm,
is, I was told years ago there are more millionaires that are risk averse
yeah.
than risk happy, because
Yes.
the risk happy are either billionaires or bankrupts.
Or bankrupt. Yeah.
And there isn't any right or wrong, but it's what's right for us, I think, is the most important thing.
Yes.
And so yeah, in terms of success, there's more successful people that were steady, risk averse, as you say,
Mm.
didn't gamble for whatever, but it
It
just
might
take
take
longer.
a little bit longer. I
Just
mean,
take longer. Yeah,
there's still gambling involved, but you gamble what you have.
yeah.
You don't gamble. I think you remember some years back, Leeds United were doing really well, and the boss at the time, I think he's just passed, but
I think it's Ridsdale he went under.
he borrowed against them winning the European Cup,
I didn't know that, funnily enough. But yeah,
and
are
he
we talking
borrowed.
Peter Ridsdale? I know he was one of the,
No, it
or
was
Bates. It was Bates passed recently, wasn't it?
Bates. I think
Yeah,
it might have been Bates. I can't remember the exact story, but I have in my head that they borrowed 65 million on the winning the European Cup,
goodness.
and they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that. I
And
mean, that's straight gambling. That's just
that's a
definition of
straight
gambling,
gamble.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. And
Straight
that's not
gambling.
business, is it?
No, no, it's not. Honestly, it's not.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we do very much talk about the systemization, the proceduralization of a business, which
Yeah.
gives it structure and security and safety.
Yes.
We also believe in rapid growth being achievable, but as
Mm.
long as you've got the systems, processes, and structures in
You've
place.
got to have the system, otherwise you can't cope with the growth.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you can only get, I always say you can get to a certain level of success with a few good people in shoe blood and guts.
Mm.
You can just
Yeah.
work really, really hard, but you
Yes.
get to that limit of if the success is purely based on how hard people work and they've become maxed out,
Mhm.
you by default can't grow any further. If it's
Mm.
about people's time rather than about the systems you create,
Mm.
if that makes sense, might be a
Yeah.
conversation for later. But and I'm keen to know. I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation, right? I'm just keen to know who the best coaches you've had, whether that is business, sport, life in general. Who's influenced you most?
It's that's really important. I mean, I go back quite a long way to even to to playing football coaches. They in
Yes.
the old days, um, they couldn't turn this sow's ear into a silk purse. Fine. Um, but coaching is funny. One of the best coaches I know ran a fantastic training school in Derbyshire. Um, but it was NLP with coaching with NLP.
Yep.
Um, and found the coaches that are excellent that I've come across have ultimately graduated to therapists.
Okay. Yep. Interesting.
They haven't always. So, because what our involvement from a therapy point of view is about life coaching rather than business
Yes.
coaching. And
Yep.
business coaching is not really, and also the NCIP are applying to the Professional Standards Authority, the government thing, for accreditation,
Brilliant.
and they will not have coaches.
Yep.
And this is one of the reasons we are about to move all of our coaches membership out to the ICIP.
Right. Interesting.
And I haven't told them yet. So no, they know it's on everybody knows it's on the cards because PSA do not recognize coaching as what do they call it? A health and social care
No,
profession.
no, no, I understand it. I mean, from my perspective, I really look forward to the day that business coaching is a
Yes, me
regulated
too.
industry
Mm,
because, the amount of, and I'm proud of the amount of, initial training, ongoing support,
Yeah.
systems process that my organisation provides. Whereas, you
Mm.
know, in an unregulated industry, anyone can anyone can say they're a coach, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Including me, to be fair,
Yes.
from the start. But I think we are dealing. I mean, you more than me, but we're dealing with people's lives, and it's critical that there is a level of regulation
I think there's a when you look at it, I think there's quite a big difference between the two professions.
yes, oh yes, for sure.
And I don't think they are particularly allied or particularly crossover. I think they're just two distinct
I
different
agree.
professions.
Well, I mean, one of my colleagues he is quite well known for any client he takes on. He
Mm.
insists they see a psychotherapist for the first 12
Mm.
months. And it's a condition of working with him because he
Yeah.
says these guys can help you with what we call the head trash.
Yes.
We'll deal with the not just the business processes. We do a lot of dealing with the individual, but
Yes.
not to the depth that you would do because that's not we're not trained to, and that would
No,
be
and
inappropriate.
not trying. It's not the reason you're doing it.
Exactly right. No, it's 100%. It is. I love helping people change mindset, which
Mm.
radically change the business. But it isn't just
Yeah.
that. We support it with systems, processes, all the
Yeah.
things they need.
Mm.
But we never go to a level of depth of fundamentally changing
Mm.
things that I would imagine you guys do. And that's your profession and why,
Yes.
I'm glad you do have the
I think
right
we
level
do we
of,
do different jobs, and
yeah.
the uninformed think they're allied, and they're not.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree. I mean, you know, not many times, it's pretty wrong, but there's enough times when I've said, look, we're getting into a level of depth in how you're thinking and feeling that it's inappropriate for me to deal with. It's not,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
care, but I
Yeah.
want you to go and see somebody that's a professional in this part of
Mm.
your personal support. And that's why I
Yeah.
say, certainly one of my colleagues, he works very closely with, but not overlapping with,
Mm.
I think he probably favours one particular one, but a psychotherapist that supports his
Yes.
clients.
Yeah.
Because it's a different thing. We do change behaviour, interesting enough, but behaviour is more easily
Yes.
changed. I'm sure I would
Yes.
imagine you'd agree with that than the fundamentals of who we are.
Yes. I
Um,
mean, and there's obviously a lot of behavior in mixed in that, particularly if you're looking at different modalities of will concentrate on behavior rather than feelings,
yes,
thinking rather than feeling. But,
yep,
um, but there's a distinction between the two that a lot of people don't get.
yes,
Having said that, we have lots of members that are either call themselves coaches and they're therapists too, or they call
yep,
them therapists and they have coaching qualifications too. And that's the integrative nature of things.
right,
And so I'm not, CBT, for example, that I use a lot of, well, some of the time, is very different to hypnotherapy.
yes,
But they're both therapists. They're
yep,
both,
got
they're
you,
both, yeah. So there's always differences in modality,
yep,
but I do believe coaching is a separate
yeah,
entity.
and
Mm.
yeah, I would certainly agree, and
Mm.
I'm very keen that as I say, we set the boundaries for ourselves. Because we're not
Mm.
regulated, we don't have those boundaries set for us, but we're very clear what we do and
Yeah,
how we do it, and that we're good at doing that. But anything
yeah,
outside of that, we refer to other people that are experts in their field.
yeah.
Um, so, alongside the coaching question, I don't think I mentioned I was asking this question early, but any favourite quotes or sayings that you catch yourself using on
Oh, I've
a
been waiting for you
regular
to say
basis?
that. Yes, I have one favorite quote that I
Brilliant.
use, I use an awful lot, and that is never wrestle with a pig. You'll get dirty and the pig will love it.
That's fascinating. Um, you'll get
It's an
dirty.
it's an anon quote. It comes from the Pilgrim Fathers somewhere in the US. It was put down to one of the early presidents, but it's actually anon. It's nobody
Is
knows
it
that.
a nod? Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So something's clicked in my head because I heard that phrase from a guy called Dr. Mark Bowden. No,
Mm.
who when you mentioned Derbyshire, he's got practice in Derbyshire.
All
Uh,
right.
but I don't think it's psychotherapy. It might be something, but he
Mm.
said exactly the same thing. And I think they branded their business around that idea of. So let's just go again. Don't wrestle a pig because you get dirty and they'll love it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So when I'm dealing with narcissistic abuse,
Yes.
what happens is a narcissist will throw a little hand grenade
Yep.
and then he will feed off the response.
Right.
So, so that fits really well
So if
in
you wrestle with them,
don't, don't do it.
you're giving them the.
Yeah.
There's a different phrase. There's a different phrase which is similar, but it's not the same. But I love because it always gets me. It's a very simple one, which was don't argue with an idiot because it just makes two. Which I
Yes.
think
But there's
which
another,
isn't the same.
there's a pigeon one. I like that. But there's a pigeon one as well about never play chess with a pigeon. And I'm not quite sure how it goes. But the bird will knock the strut around the board, knock the pieces over, and claim victory or something like that.
I like that. I'm going to search that one up afterwards.
But I
Thank you.
like, but I'm one of these people that I'm a great believer in Occam's razor, which is you like the shortest route,
Yeah,
and the longer the lines become, the more chances you've got of making an error.
yeah,
So I like this shortness, and I don't wrestle with a pig is, and I've
love
had
it.
clients, lots of clients say to me, I've gone to respond, and I've heard you sitting on my shoulder
Don't
going,
wrestle with a
"Don't
pig.
wrestle with a pig."
Love it.
Um, and I'm a great believer and I taught at university, well, colleges and universities in psychology before I became a therapist. And I learned something from a friend of mine. There was a neighbor, and he was head of sixth form at the local grammar school, as it was then. And he used to be really controversial about the way he'd write something on the board, and they'd all kick off about. So I was teaching intelligence one day, and they all went out. The group went out for a break, and I wrote on the board, all all people with a low IQ should be sterilized. And then when they came back, of course, it all kicked off, and I defended it
Right.
as best I could, um, because there were certain states in America, and I can't remember who they were now, but there was a couple of states in America that actually happened.
Wow.
And I think there was a time in Sweden, if you wanted benefits, they didn't want you breeding.
Right. Goodness.
Um,
Wow.
and of course, it's still in this country, and we need a court order to do it. But when we think someone's too vulnerable, then that still happens. So I used to defend it for as long, but they never forgot.
I can imagine. That must be quite an interesting
Oh, it was
conversation
a
to
great, yeah, I had a great time. But I learned that from this colleague. Well, no, he was a friend. His wife was a colleague at the college I was working at the time, and we just hit it off, her and I.
Brilliant.
And they were local, so you know, my wife and I, and we had a few drinks with him a few times, and he this came up in conversation one night over a pint, and I just thought, oh, that is brilliant.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And then,
Mm,
an interesting touchy base on what we talked about a little bit earlier. Our definition in Action Coach of a what we call a true business
mm,
is a commercial profitable enterprise. It's non for profit, but a
mm.
profit.
Yeah.
But it works without its owners and leaders. And I'm keen to know again your thoughts on that. And obviously, it goes back a little bit to the conversation we had.
Say that last bit again.
So it's a commercial profitable enterprise. It does what
Yeah.
it does well, and it makes money,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it uses the money to do more of
Mm.
what it does. But it works without its owners and leaders. So it works without its owners and leaders. Doesn't mean they're not in there, and it doesn't mean they have to
Well,
leave.
I think NCIP does.
Cool,
Um, I, although I might be the figurehead, I have very little to do with the day to day.
great,
Um, I have more than I want to
okay,
because I want to be the visionary.
yeah,
But there's always someone that wants to talk, or there's something I've got to do, or there's a system that's not working properly. Um, and the registrar really is the one that runs everything. And
brilliant,
she, you know, she's the membership
yeah,
registrar. So she's all the ins and outs and the renewals go through her. Um, so I mean, put it this way, I don't know that we've ever done it that we've both been on holiday at the same time, but I think it could work. But that's a bit of a sop because she takes her MacBook on holiday with her
Right. Well,
because it suits her. And I've
yeah,
always said to her, get the job done. I don't care what time of the day you do it. And she's had a young family; they're grown up now. Um, so that's how it works.
yeah,
So I can say to her, I'm not working Friday afternoons. I'm going to the spa. As I belong to the Harrogate Spa, the gym.
yeah.
And I'm not coming in. I'm not, don't talk to me Friday afternoon, because when you're there, everything, your phone and everything's in the
Yeah.
lock.
Yes.
Um, and I see a few people cheat. You're not supposed to. I see a few people cheat, but I don't want to. I
No,
want to
no,
be incognito for an hour or two.
that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's part of the, for most people, that's part of the process, isn't it?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that lockdown?
Hmm.
So looking forward then, Ray, what does the future look like for you for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Well, it's two pronged, isn't it? The
Yeah,
NCIP will continue to grow, not as fast as it was, but we're still growing. We are there for private practice. There are 200, very nearly 200,000 in the UK, private practitioners.
yeah,
Um, we're nothing like that. We take a little bit of that. Um, Before we went CIC, the business was profitable. There was a profit in there every
yeah,
year. Now it has to go back in.
yeah,
But we adjust it with bonuses where we can and with salaries. So that will continue to grow. In terms of practice, I am I like what I do. I don't want to stop it particularly. What I want to do is I want more of an influence, um, so that yeah, and I want to be more of an influencer and less of a therapist. No, not less of a therapist, but no more of a therapist.
yeah.
So that's the way we work. I've got I trained her, but the lady that's on the telly a fair bit, and she's a brilliant therapist. And I obviously won't mention her name, but she's on my Facebook page every bloody day. And I'm her supervisor. And I said to her, Is this the way?" She said, "When I'm working, that's what gets the business in."
Right.
And she said, "You should do the same." And I have been doing in my daily, I did 6 weeks every day and it got a little bit out of it. And I suppose I stopped and I probably shouldn't have done. And I just said to her, "But I don't have your cleavage." And she said, "No, you're up against it, aren't you?"
Love
So,
it.
but it's not that she's anything ever inappropriate. But she's a married woman with two kids.
No, no.
Yeah. Um, but she's a pretty, she's an attractive woman. It doesn't matter when she goes to speak, she has a following,
Yeah,
and the following, in fairness, is business. It's not because she's a nice looking woman. It's business.
yeah,
And she's on the telly quite a bit as well, but so she's quite well known. But there is a switch, and I see that switch when I'm talking to her.
yeah.
Suddenly, she's the therapist and brilliant at it.
Brilliant.
Um, but this doesn't get much on screen. I have to present in a way that is solid and dependable.
Yeah. Yes.
And that is that I don't know if it's a disadvantage or whether it's just different. Um, but I am leaning with the marketing that I use now. We are leaning in that direction, that more influence.
Yeah.
And the idea is, I mean, I don't want to change what I do. I want to charge more. I'm not cheap now,
Yeah.
but um, I want to charge more. I had a recommendation from somebody that charged more than double what I charge, a colleague, and I had to charge what she charged. Well,
Brilliant.
I really like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But most people I work with, businesses I work with, is I do this. I say, put your hand where your price is.
Mm,
You know what how much you charge. Now I
yeah.
want you to put this one the value that you offer.
I
Okay.
can't. I'm in. There is an arrogance in that answer, isn't there? So
I don't believe so. It doesn't need to be arrogance. This is about if somebody was to really pay
I
you what
think
you're
I think in
worth.
any business you have to give more than the fee.
Why? Why don't you give what the fee is? I.e., so literally,
Well,
the point
because
being is exactly that. So you're, as an example,
which
you're
is
there.
that it is
That's
that.
where you could be.
Mm.
All of that is lost profit. Now we can
That's an interesting concept, but I'm not quite sure that I would go along with that. The reason being is if you stop at that level, because of the nature of what we do, you will lose that person because there is no loyalty.
what makes you think that?
Well, that's what happens. It isn't what I think. That's what happens. And I'll give you an example. Some time ago, when I was still seeing people face to face, I had this guy, retired gentleman, who had real panic anxiety, panic attacks. And I got him when he first came. I had to have both doors of the office open and the window,
Right.
and it was November, I think, and because he was so panicked.
Yep.
And I used to start at 9 o'clock, so he'd have a 9 o'clock appointment, maybe on a Wednesday, or I can't remember what day of the week we had a regular meeting. But he regularly rang and cancelled it at the last minute.
Yeah.
Now, I have a policy, even in those days, I had a policy of 24 hours notice unless they were ill. So he did it 3 or 4 times, and I let it go. And of course, when you do is if you say, right, I've got an appointment now, and they cancel, there's no money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he did it 3 or 4 times. I said, look, this is a business. If you have to do it again, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to charge you. Never saw him again.
Okay. Uh, so just so you're clear, you're using that as an example for why
Well,
if
I'm using that as an example as that, right. So I have a client in America, for example. It doesn't matter whereabouts.
yep,
So I work a bit late in the afternoon and they're
yep,
in the morning. And if I say to them, because of the nature of the work, if I say to them, see you next Wednesday, or see you next, whenever the next appointment is,
yep,
they're left hanging by themselves for a week.
yep,
And if they have an issue that I haven't offered support to, they're going to look for someone that will support it at that moment. So I say at the end of you know where to find me if you need it.
yep.
And that's the balance. That's the difference.
Well, there's no reason you can't. Look, all I'm suggesting is you got to every there's a wealth of evidence that would suggest value most businesses undervalue what they do.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I haven't put my fees up for 3 years.
So all of that you could do to the relative, and the point being is we're not saying above the value, we're saying
Mm,
at the value. So this
mm,
is just if you asked your clients honestly, and they
mm,
weren't, somebody else was going to pay for them for the next 20 years, what
mm,
would you pay if you really had to?
mm.
I guarantee, I'm not guarantee, yeah, I will guarantee because you're clearly good at what you do, Ray. Most of them would pay a lot more, or certainly more,
Oh,
and
it's
be
one of the,
delighted to do so.
I don't disagree. I always, when my supervisees, if I take on somebody new, I persuade them to not undervalue themselves. And here I am sitting here knowing that my fee undervalues me. And I know that, and I am, but when you start to think about a fee structure, first of all, I don't give discounts,
Good. No, absolutely not.
and no discounts. I do, but I also note that you also have to know what the market is like, because if the market isn't there, it doesn't matter if you're tuppence. There's nobody there.
Well, with respect, I'll go into Rolls-Royce next week and I'll tell them that about their cars.
Point taken.
It,
But
it I mean, it literally, it is about who we perceive to ourselves and our
yes,
clients perceive to be.
and
I can give you a really good example, which is a car example as well. And again,
mm,
this is sort of again, it's just one example, so it's not evidential. It's not trying to prove a point, but
mm,
it's very relevant. I was talking to somebody about it the other week. My one of my coaching colleagues, unfortunately, no longer with us, but he before he became became an action coach, he was very senior in NatWest RS Royal Bank of Scotland Group,
okay.
and he one of his expertise was white labelling insurance
Hmm.
schemes. So he told me one where he was working with BMW. So basically, um, NatWest were providing the insurance for a BMW three for BMW. So they
Yes.
I think it makes sense. So he told me this story and he said, we got this amazing deal on insuring a 3 Series BMW. And it was like less than £100, going back a little
Mm,
bit, but it was less than
yeah.
an amazing deal. And they put it out there, loads of publicity, and they couldn't believe how little it went, how
Mm.
little it went through. Okay. And
It wasn't value for money, was it?
it was credible value for money.
Mm.
What turned out to be the case, because somebody said, well, perhaps it's too cheap.
Mm.
And they more than doubled the price and
Mm.
it shot off the shelves
Yeah.
because people didn't want to buy cheap. It was also a perception of value.
Well, the BMW drivers have that.
Well, yeah, yes.
I ought to know. I've got one.
Okay, cool, cool. But I mean, it's the same, the M&S,
Hey, listen, this story goes back way back. My cousin, like us, down south, he was a hairdresser for years. He had a couple of stores, shops. And I can remember years ago, he had some sort of tube of gel or whatever it was, and he put it in the window. And I think it was 90 pence. And it didn't shift. So one day, after a week or two, he hadn't sold any. He changed it to 9 quid. He couldn't get them quick enough. When I started in 2004, everyone around me was £30 an hour. I was 45.
brilliant,
Well, by the time they were catching me up, I went to 60. And
brilliant.
so I've always felt that it should be aspirational.
Yeah,
But there comes a finite point, and I don't know. I think it's a self-limitation.
I was going to say exactly that. I mean,
Mm.
it's
I
which
think it's a
it
self-limitation.
is just a self. I would absolutely agree. A self worth limitation,
Mm.
and I don't mean that for you. I mean I've
Yes.
I was going to say I have the same challenge. It's one area where I don't, and then this is not. I'm going to ask you to believe it's nothing to do with arrogance. It was just
No.
I was always good at blagging it, and I'll go. Well, I've got no problem saying it's going to be this, and let's see what happens. I think it was just great. If they go yes, brilliant. If they can say no, fair enough. I'll learn. But I had never had any problem of
Yeah.
just saying well, it's going to be this much, and just see what happened. I had lots of other challenges I could certainly show you, but it's really fascinating, Ray, is that we self limit, and it is,
We all do. Yes.
and I
And
found
I'm just as big a culprit as the beginner I'm trying to help. When
do,
they want to charge 50 quid or 55 quid, and I say, no, you should be 90.
do you know one of the things I believe it to be true, and it's true of us both and of both our professions,
Mm.
is it's because it's one of the big issues, and I've seen this time and time again with other coaches, is it's because it's self worth. So
Mm.
and what I mean is, if you were to say to, if you were to have, we call it a sales meeting. I appreciate you probably don't want to call it a sales meeting, but if you were to sell the services of the person you most admire in your industry,
Mm.
I bet you would have no problem charging absolute top whack. whatever that would be, because they're amazing. I've seen them operate. They've transformed people's lives.
Mm,
It's when it's me and I have to say, this is you. You're going to spend this much for an hour with me,
mm,
and I think that holds people back. And that's why I often say to some of my colleagues, if it's an issue, do a deal with another coach and sell for each other.
mm,
Because it's way easier selling something over there or some person over there. My team, I
mm.
mean, in my first business, we were still
Yeah.
a big part of consultants, but I wasn't selling me consulting. I was selling them, and they're amazing. We've got people with brains the size of a planet. You know,
Mm,
they're absolutely smash out of the park.
yeah.
It's when we have to look someone in the eye and say, you know, you're going to pay me this much an hour. I think most people struggle. Um,
I think you're absolutely right, and it doesn't matter where you are on the tree. Um,
no,
you always struggle. I've like I say, more than twice what I've charged, and she has a waiting list.
I
And I
that's all
and
the
I
evidence I need.
well, because she's central London, you think, well, okay, London prices. Listen to me, I'm sounding like a Yorkshireman. Um,
It's nothing to
uh,
do with that.
no, it's not. It
Um,
is nothing to do with
it-
it.
and
If
given
I
how
if I was down there, but if I was practicing down there, I would charge the same as her.
yeah,
But so why don't I charge it here? Is the
you
question.
I'm going to leave that with you. And the challenge is, I would suggest, because I know I can't coach myself, I would imagine you can't counsel yourself in this. And that's, you know, I have no coach because I know I can't do this. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we have supervision, so I bounce
yes,
off my supervisor. Um, but I supervise, and she charges half the amount that I charge. I charge 120 quid for supervision, and she charges me 60. And I've
right.
said to her on more than one occasion, I would pay double for you to be my supervisor. And she went, "Oh no, it's me."
Case in point, I would put money on if you went to all your top clients. I mean, we always talk about A, B, C, D clients. Your A grade clients, they love what you do, they really get you, they value you, they've been with you
Mm,
for years, they recommend you to others. And I guarantee, if you said to them, I was going to put my prices up even double, they'd probably
mm,
go, yeah, no problem, because they
yeah,
would tell you they get way more value than the money they pay you.
yeah,
It's just a difficult thing for us all to do because it is an uncomfortable conversation. But
yeah.
the truth of the matter is, if we want, when we are a practice, when we are trading time for money,
Mm.
the only way to make more money is either work a lot longer or charge a lot more.
Yeah, yes,
Um,
smarter rather than harder.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Ray, it's been fascinating talking. I will
Yeah, I
ask you
enjoyed
one
that.
final question
Go
just to
on.
see what would be the best advice you give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that.
Oh, don't.
Don't what?
Yes. Anything. Don't. 18-year-old, because we tend to be more mature in therapy. 18, well, I was still hoping to play for Spurs when I was
Oh,
18.
I'll say brilliant until he said Spurs, but that's another story. Sorry.
But I'd already been given up by then. I was on Leighton Orient's books, a
Oh, brilliant.
14-year-old, but I wasn't as a
Fantastic.
15-year-old. Um, so, and I was still hoping to play. No, I wasn't really. And 18, I just education. I didn't do my bachelor's until I was 30,
Right.
and I loved it. Well, was I over 30? Um,
Brilliant.
and I did it because I got divorced.
Right.
And so I just saw that somewhere in here is a brain. Maybe I need to poke it a bit, poke at it, and I just fell in love with. I went and did an access course, fell in love with Freud instantly, and the rest is history.
Brilliant.
There's a bust of him over there because he's still my hero.
Fantastic.
Um, so yeah, stay in education as long as you possibly can.
Great. Love it. And never
That
stop
that
learning.
would be my advice to myself.
Lifelong learning. I
Yeah.
fundamentally absolutely believe in it.
And not stop and start again, just get on with it.
Keep going.
Just do it. Yeah.
And I mean, I know you probably, I suspect it's a bit, obviously quite academic education, but I learn from everywhere every day, whether it's from people or
Oh,
from
of
things.
course. Well, once you've got that mindset that
There's a
you want
lesson
to
everywhere, isn't
learn,
there?
yeah, it's there all the time. And
But
I'm fascinated by, I learn so much from clients, and I've
yes,
recently started to dabble with ADHD, and that's fascinating.
yeah, I'm sure it's a fascinating subject.
Yeah.
I don't know where I sit on that. I think I've got some facets of some of the behaviors or whatever the right words are, but
Well, yeah, and I think the only thing you can do with ADHD is tailor the better behavior.
yes.
And I somehow or other, I'm working with this one particular guy at first, found a formula. And you can say it's clever. I think it's desperation.
Yeah.
You find things when you think, well, now what do I do? Um, and so I'm fascinated by that. But the dysfunction of narcissism, and particularly in families,
Mm.
um, I have a great believer that there is a difference between family and relations. They're very
Oh,
different.
interesting.
And I did a podcast on it, all by myself, and it lit up
Wow.
because everyone's got
Interesting.
a story to tell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
And when it's a extended family, it's not about them.
yeah,
It's easier to tell.
yeah.
So I'm just following that route as well a little bit, just expanding the narcissistic behavior into the
Mm.
family as well. I don't even like saying family. Blood makes relations. Family are people that have your back.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not
There's definitely a difference.
they're not necessarily exclusive, but they can be usually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, honestly get that from. Yeah, I
Mm,
would understand what you're saying. I'm not, but yeah, that makes proper
okay.
sense. Ray,
So
it's been delightful talking to you today, and thank you so much for
great.
spending so much time with us. And just let's just go over it for anyone that wants to get in touch with you or NCIP. What's the best way of doing that?
The best way of doing it is if they want to get in touch with me, it's website rayfreemanpsychotherapy.com or the NCI the dash NCIP.org, and that will find me. Or they can just send a message through the website to me directly if they,
Brilliant.
um, or they can just do a general message to it will go to the registrar, but I share her email it so I see them.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, look, it'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see what next
Yeah,
stages and
but
what
I'd
you're up
look
to.
forward to that.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, but for now, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.